Lesson 1. The Priestleys' House. You have heard, in Book 1, about Mr. Priestley and his students. I want now to tell you something about his house. He is an old friend of mine, and I went to visit him about a fortnight ago and stayed at his house for the weekend. He lives in a very nice house. It is called The Pines, and is about 10 miles from London. There is a big garden all round it, and I went in at the garden gate and walked along the path to the front door. There is a smooth lawn in front of the house with beds of roses in it. I knocked at the front door. Mr. Priestley opened it and, with a smile and some words of welcome, shook hands with me, and we went into the hall. Then Mrs. Priestley came to greet me. I said, "How do you do?" and gave her the flowers that I had bought for her. She said, "Oh, thank you. What beautiful roses. How kind of you to bring them. I love roses, and ours haven't been good this year. These are lovely." She took them away to put them in water, and Mr. Priestley and I went into the sitting room and sat down in armchairs before the fire. For it was a rather cold day, and I was very pleased to see the bright fire burning in the fireplace. Their sitting room is quite a big room, about 25 feet long by 15 feet wide. There was a thick carpet on the floor. 1 or 2 good watercolors hung on the walls. And there was a large and very interesting oil painting that I hadn't seen before. There was a piano on one side of the room. Both Mr. and Mrs. Priestley are fond of music, and Mrs. Priestley plays the piano beautifully. There were 3 or 4 comfortable armchairs, a radio, and 3 or 4 bookcases filled with books. On a small table near the window there were copies of the Times, Punch, and some foreign newspapers and magazines. Mrs. Priestley returned with the roses in a bowl, which she put on the table, and a few minutes later Susan came in with tea and a very nice cake. I had expected to see John Priestley and Margaret. I had brought a box of chocolates for her. I knew she liked chocolates. But they told me John was up at Oxford and Margaret had gone to a birthday party at the house of a friend of hers. After we had chatted for a little time, Mrs. Priestley said, "Will you excuse me? Please. I want to see about the dinner. Did you know that Lizzie had left us?" "No, I didn't," I said. "Yes," continued Mrs. Priestley. "She got a letter about a month ago to say that her sister-in-law had died, and so Lizzie has gone to keep house for her brother. That cake that we had at tea was hers. She sent it to me yesterday. Since she left, I have done the cooking and baked the cakes, but mine are never as good as hers." "Nonsense, my dear. I don't think Lizzie's cakes were any better than yours," said Mr. Priestley loyally. "Take no notice of Charles," said Mrs. Priestley with a smile. "They say love is blind. It seems to me he can't taste, either. My husband's ideas about grammar are, I am sure, better than mine. But when it's a question of ideas about cakes, mine are far better than his." She went out, and Mr. Priestley said, "It's bad luck about Lizzie, isn't it? I'm afraid Susan will go, too, before long. A young fellow near here, Joe Marsden, has asked her to marry him. He is trying to buy a cafe in the high street. The cafe is not his yet, but I think he'll get it, and, when it is his, I'm pretty sure Susan will marry him and go to help him to run the cafe. It will make things difficult for my wife. Ours is quite a big house for one woman to run, and it's almost impossible nowadays to get help in the house." After a little time Mrs. Priestley joined us again and said, "Dinner is ready." So we went to the dining room, a pleasant-looking room with a Persian carpet on the floor, a dark oak dining table, 6 chairs and a sideboard. A red lampshade gave a warm color to the room, and an electric fire kept it comfortable while we had dinner. Susan drew the brown velvet curtains across the windows as it was now quite dark outside, and we sat down to dinner, a very English one: roast beef and Yorkshire pudding, roast potatoes, and cabbage grown in their own garden, followed by apple pie with thick cream and sugar. When we had finished dinner, Susan took the dishes from the dining room to the kitchen, and Mrs. Priestley went with her to make coffee. Mr. Priestley took me to his study for a quiet smoke and to show me some of his books. After a quarter of an hour or so, Mrs. Priestley came to tell us she had made the coffee and it was in the sitting room. So we went there to take coffee and talk together and listen to the news on the radio. Then Mrs. Priestley played some Chopin, my favorite composer, for the piano. It was now 11 o'clock and I was feeling rather tired. Mr. Priestley saw this and said, "You have had a tiring day and you look sleepy. Come along upstairs to your bedroom." Plan of the house: terrace, garage, sitting room, dining room, kitchen, hall, study. Upstairs there are 5 bedrooms, a bathroom and a lavatory. We went to my room and he said, "Here you are. There is running water in your room and you can wash there or go to the bathroom. Whichever you prefer. You will find soap in the soap dish, and here are your towels. Put on the electric fire and warm your pajamas before putting them on. There are sheets and 3 blankets on your bed, and my wife has put a hot water bottle in it, but if you are not warm enough there is an eiderdown here. Now, do you want anything else?" I said, "Oh, no, thank you. I shall be very comfortable." He added, "We have breakfast rather early, about 8:15, but you can, of course, come down later if you like and have breakfast then." I said, "I will come down and have breakfast with you." "All right," he said, "I'll bring you a cup of tea at 7:30. That will give you time to get properly awake, shave and have a bath before breakfast if you feel like it. It will be all right if you take a bath about 7:15. I have mine at 7. And my wife and Margaret take theirs in the evening." "Splendid," I said, "thank you very much. Good night." Pronunciation drill: greet, continue, blanket, reply, blanket, keep, excuse, cafe, favorite, chat, magazine, prefer, velvet, visit, lamp, sheet, pajamas, carpet, splendid, magazine, bath, bottle, floor, room, smooth, carpet, copy, lawn, book, continue, path, knock, board, shook, excuse, pajamas, nonsense, yours, pudding, also, and more usually, a cafe. The sound here is U. Curtain, soap, afraid, continue, magazine, furniture, bowl, along, favorite, nonsense, oak, awake, furniture, nowadays, grow, composer, loyal, pajamas, blind, mine, chair, die, reply, theirs, eiderdown, pie, upstairs, side, smile. Exercises. Exercise 1. Use in sentences of your own the following words. 1. Comfortable. 2. Lampshade. 3. Path. 4. Carpet. 5. Velvet. 6. Lawn. 7. Bowl. 8. Pajamas. 9. Welcome. 10. Sideboard. 11. Cafe. 12. Eiderdown. Exercise 2. Answer the following questions fully. 1. Where is Mr. Priestley's house and what is it called? 2. What is there in front of the house? 3. What did Mrs. Priestley say about the roses? 4. Where were A. John, B. Margaret Priestley? 5. Describe A. The sitting room, B. The dining room. 6. What did they have for dinner? 7. Why had Lizzie left the Priestleys? 8. Why does Mr. Priestley think Susan will leave them? 9. What did Mr. Priestley say about his wife's cakes? 10. What was her reply? Dictation. John Priestley is at Oxford University. He has 2 rooms, a sitting room and a bedroom. His sitting room is a pleasant one. There is a thick carpet on the floor, and 1 or 2 watercolors and black and white drawings hang on the walls. Near the door is a bookcase filled with books, and by the window is a table at which John works. On it are some books and copies of university magazines. John is not working now, he is making coffee. A friend is coming to his rooms for a chat. On a plate are some cakes which Mrs. Priestley has baked. John goes to the window and looks at the smooth lawns and roses and the old grey walls. It is getting dark, so he draws the curtains and puts on the light. It has a red lampshade which gives a warm color to the room. A fire is burning brightly in the fireplace. John hears a knock at the door. His friend has come. Composition exercises 1. Describe the pictures on pages 1 and 2. 2. Describe the furniture etc. in A. Your sitting room, B. Your dining room, C. Your bedroom, D. Your kitchen. 3. Describe the house you would like to live in. Dear friends, thank you very much for your support, for watching and for liking. I wish you success in learning English. Subscribe to our channel, and good luck.